it's never going to be enough automating. There's always something to automate in the company. If you're running out of ideas on the DevOps side, switch to the BizOps. If you reach out to your operational team, I bet in any organization, they will find the automation for you to do.
Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of ZAPTALK. Once again, I'm joined by my awesome co-host, Alex Zapp. Welcome, Alex.
Hey, John. Hey, Paul. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too.
Good to see you as well. And obviously, we were joined once again. Well, not once again. We're joined by the one and only Paul GROSSMAN. If you don't know, Paul is the perfect guest for the show because he is an independent consultant with over 25 years of experience. He's always messing around with the latest and greatest, especially AI, which I know he's been playing around with. And I know he's talked to Alex and he's messing around with their AI as well. So we can get a really cool insight from someone that has a lot of experience with a bunch of different tools, no BS, straight talking. He really knows his stuff. He talks at all the conferences. He has a dark sense of humor. He also is the author recently of a book, Enhancing Test Automation with WebDriver. I think Paul has it. Pull that book up. Awesome. It's with Larry Goddard. Really great book. A lot of great resources there. We'll have a link for that down below. And also, most recently, as I mentioned, he's really taken a deep dive into the weeds of generative AI for test automation. Really excited to have you on the show, Paul. Welcome.
Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate you inviting me here, and Alex inviting me in. Great to be here.
Absolutely. So, Paul, I start off all the time because usually someone always has an Alex Zapp story of how they met him. So, you're an old Mercury guy like the rest of us. So when did you first heard about Alex, and like just a little background with that?
Sure. My recollection is I met Alex, and he may not remember this entirely, but it's maybe 9 to 12 years ago. I believe he was showing off his tool at either a Mercury or a HP conference. And I sat in and looked at it and watched it. It was pretty neat. And I believe at the time I was working for, I think,
Redbox.
Redbox. I was going to say after, yeah, it was Redbox at the time.
I remember.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he knew everybody because everybody on my team was there the year before. He knew everyone.
No,
So,
the reason why I remember, I tell you, Paul, besides the fact that you're quite of advanced character, of course, you're a great guy and memorable, right? The technological case that we've been discussing, because the Redbox was a device it was an orthodox setup that you had a standalone platform. And at that time, mobile was rising up. So it was like a big mobile platform that we had to automate. And it was a very interesting case for us back then. Absolutely.
The future of automation support is here. Meet Alex Zapp Avatar, your AI-powered automation expert, designed to answer your toughest questions about software testing, RPA, AI-driven automation, and everything Zap test.
So,
Paul, did you put it through its paces back then, or did you just recently start messing around with the?
my Candy Mapper
ZAPTEST.
site was not in in existence at the time, which is what I used to put through a basic situation. So, but I have done it in the recent weeks with Alex over here, and it did very well. So I was rather impressed by it.
Awesome. So we're going to take a deep dive into that soon. I just want to set up a little bit, Paul, about your journey. Like, what got you into automation? What brings you here? You've spoken, like I said, to a lot of conferences. You've worked a lot of tooling. You've worked at a lot of companies, doing a lot of technology. So for the people that missed it, though, your backstory, maybe a little backstory on your journey and what took you, or why you're here today, what you did along the way, type deal.
We'll do it in brief. Started off with an X-ray company, and I was automating their X-ray stuff with UFT, actually with Windrunner back in the day. In fact, I still have the Windrunner. It's with me. And it actually also has the code that can make it work on the back. Started with that. I will tell you, I know the exact date I became an automation engineer, which was September 10th, 2001. And then January 5th, I looked at some sort of script and it said automated by Paul GROSSMAN framework, and on this start on September 10th, 2001. And I realized, oh my gosh, I need to get back to this because I've been on a side journey for a while. Essentially, after about 3 or 4 years working there and automating all their stuff on their X-ray machines, I moved into QTP and UFT. I got a speaking invite over at down in the down at Disney at their Dolphin Hotel, which I enjoyed. And then I kept getting just basically, I wanted to learn more about every tool that was out there. And the cheapest way to do it was to get out and put out a white paper and speak about whatever it is I knew at the time. And that's been working well for me for the last 22 years. Essentially, at one point I started up a YouTube channel, the Dark Arts Wizard. And I've also, like you said, speaking of conferences, yours was one of the ones I was taking a long drive through California, and I heard your podcast, and then I started listening to the next one and the next one, and the next one. And finally, I got from the airport to where I was going about 4 hours later. So that's how you came into it. What else we have? I also teach at the International Institute of Software Testing. I teach about test automation, and most of the things I do are my own experiences that I do with all sorts of tools. And I think that kind of brings us up today.
So as you notice, Paul started off like a lot of us using UFT, Windrunner, and then he moved on to a lot of open source tooling like Selenium. I think he's an expert in WebDriver IO now. How do you encounter a lot of people that are in that situation where they started off maybe with a tool that did everything for them, and then they had to move to open source? And like, how do you pull them back into, or convince them to say, hey, look, you may want to look at this other solution now that it is a vendor based, but it does take care of all this other stuff for you as well?
Absolutely. No, that's a great question. Thank you, Joe. So first of all, I want to say, Paul, around the same time about this, I believe this hotel was a Dolphin and Swan Hotel, right? And the Disney, that's where we had a Don Shula steakhouse. They had a 53-ounce steak. If you finish the steak, you got some grand prize. I remember that. So being a Miami boy, I kind of correlate because the Don Shula, Dan Marina, all the football icons, right? But around the same time, I wrote the white paper along the side, Paul, Quick Test Pro for Windrunner developers, because I was engaged with R&D in Israel, and they were starting to promote Quick Test Pro around 2001. And I wanted to educate industry about the changes, because the Quick Test Pro had a conceptually different architecture. It was a component-based architecture rather than Windrunner was more linear kind of a way to apply it, right? And that became very big hit. Surprisingly for me, it was my first publication kind of that hit it, right? But Joe, to answer your question, first of all, you comment from the economic perspective, right? And again, what comes appearing as an open source on the back end, it's very expensive in Denver, right? So once you back forward sort of economics of that, where you incorporate the skill set and the cost per developer, time to automation, time to market with the automation framework, cost of the maintenance, and the functionality shortcomings. For any automation leader, it becomes very obvious. Make sense? That's the one aspect. Another aspect, please remember, we're offering 6 months no-cost proof of concept. So if anyone's still not convinced based on the numbers, we're saying, guys, how about we're going to take a challenge and we're going to show you what we can do. To be honest with you right now, we showed Paul the ZAPTEST.AI. But because ZAPTEST.AI designed for a different concept of process automation, meaning that it's trying to minimize human input into the process. It does a lot of things automatically through agentic approach. So we're basically building the AI agents to comprehend all the information and process it. We even come in bold to CIOs and we're saying, guys, we're going to take 6 months, proof of concept, but we guarantee you that for a year, we're going to save you, for a decent team size, at least $1 million in man hours. If you calculate the man hours, say, spent for automating, no matter what tools you use, we're coming up with the technology. Bottom line, to answer this question, technology prevails. We develop technology for process optimization, no matter who involves in that and what done, right? What phases. If it's optimized the process, it's save time to market, that's worth using it. Sounds good? Paul, what do you take on that?
Absolutely. I agree with you that the processes are now coming into effect these recent years, especially with AI being brought in, is definitely lowering the amount of maintenance that's required for object locators, CSS, XPath, all that stuff is getting smarter and smarter. And it does remind me, I think at the exact same time, I had a HP white paper too. It was automation ROI, factor of fiction, and just showing where you should look to try and figure out the best way to show your return on investment. Most because automation, it's difficult to show this to people. And usually the answer I give managers is say, well, why do we need automation? We could have just done this with manual testing. It would have been just the same. I sit there and say, well, okay, just turn off the automation and let the manual testers go back to it and let's see what happens and see if you're catching stuff as fast as you can. And usually, oh, wait, no, we don't want to get rid of it. We do see there's something that's great over here. Yeah, I agree. It's just we're getting so much better at this, and I did see the Zap tool over there that did impress me. I will also let you guys know it was about 6 years ago. I was an automation architect for many years, and I really didn't believe in this stuff of the plain English stuff or just being able to write it out. And I actually had a demo a couple of years ago, and I was able to write something in plain English in like 17 minutes. And I went, okay, you have my attention. And now I've been looking at all sorts of different tools and analyzing them and really getting a good feel as to what's out there and how well things work. And I'm really happy the way that things are going these days.
Yeah. But Paul, I can tell you one thing. Right now, Joe, the game is slightly shifting in terms that it's not about what tool can do, but also how team can comprehend faster and easier what capabilities are there. Last time, the last episode we had with Scott, I mentioned that, and that's given metrics, it's not because of me. I mean, any gardeners of the world can tell you that average 20% of functionality in the software realm of software that's been presented to enterprises used by customers on daily basis, where the other big chunk of functionalities haven't been implemented due to the lack of knowledge what is possible. Make sense? So what we done with ZAPTEST, we advancing that part as well. We have right now My Digital Avatar interactive that you can talk to as a pre-sales engineer. It's available on our website on the contact page, and ask anything ZAPTEST. So anything come to your mind. If you have any question, you don't need to submit a ticket. You don't need to book a demo even. You can have a full-scale conversation about anything you want to learn about software automation, test automation, RPA. You can say, listen, I'm a director of QA. How ZAPTEST can help me, right? Or I'm a CIO. How ZAPTEST can help me there. On any scale, My Digital Avatar, it's named AZA, Alex Zap Avatar, will give you full answer.
C-level leaders don't have time for long demos, so we built something better. Meet our Alex Zap Avatar, your AI-powered automation agent, ready to answer your questions in real time. Want to know how ZAPTEST can optimize your business? Need insights on automation without scheduling a call? Just ask our AI agent. No wait times, no commitments, just instant expert answers when you need them. Chat with our Alex Zap Avatar now and get the answers you need on your time.
So I think I see it very useful. People getting a lot of traction with that.
Obviously, I know Paul's always messing around with things. I think I saw a video by him actually putting it through its paces that you have to see to believe it. So I'm going to enter it right now. So check it out and see how Paul interacts with AZA for yourself.
Okay, this is one of the coolest things ever.
Hey, I'm Alex Zap, your go-to for all things ZAPTEST. Need the scoop on testing tools or want to book a demo? I got you. Let's zap through your questions. What's up?
Alex, what are some of the highlights of ZAPTEST?
ZAPTEST offers several impressive highlights that make it stand out in the automation space. One-click automation. This AI-driven feature allows for seamless end-to-end automation with a single click, making it easier to generate automation scripts. Cross-platform support. ZAPTEST enables automation across web, mobile, and desktop applications using a unified approach, allowing you to write one script for multiple platforms. Scriptless testing. Its intuitive interface allows users with minimal programming skills to create tests, making it accessible to a broader range of testers. Would you like to dive deeper into any specific feature or perhaps book a demo to see it in action?
Can you briefly tell me what operating systems and browsers are supported by ZAPTEST?
ZAPTEST supports a variety of operating systems, including Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Android, and iOS. This allows for comprehensive cross-platform automation. As for browsers, ZAPTEST is compatible with all major browsers, including Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer Edge, Safari, and Opera. This extensive support ensures that you can automate testing across different environments seamlessly. If you're interested in seeing how ZAPTEST works across these platforms and browsers, would you like to book a demo?
Not today, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could help. If you have any more questions in the future or would like to explore ZAPTEST further, don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great day.
All right, cool. All right, so Paul, we saw the video how you dealt with the virtual kind of Alex. How a lot of people are skeptical, or they don't like interacting with the virtual things. What was your experience? I know you gave a demo of it, but after you thought about it, did it answer all your questions? Did you chop anything out that you didn't want Ethan to see when maybe it wasn't able to answer? How did it go?
I didn't chop anything out. Everything you saw up there was essentially live. There was 2 times it was asking me if I wanted to set up a demo. I did chop out one of those, but aside from that,
that's about right. After all. Just like the real Alex.
Exactly.
No, it's straight up live, straight through, and the response time is pretty good. I mean, I think it's only 2 or 3 seconds that it's responding to wherever the questions that I'm asking about the features of ZAPTEST. I definitely wanted to know what browsers were available. I knew of that. I think it supported Firefox, Safari, and Chrome, and then it threw out Opera. And I was like, that's cool, because I don't know a lot of automation tools that actually support Opera. Just to verify, Alex, ZAPTEST does support Opera. Am I correct on that? Of course it does, yes. So it's the answer is it was detailed. It was pretty much on point on everything, and it was kind of fun to talk to. I think it's a neat idea. So,
thank you, Paul. Yeah, we see a lot of positive response from visitors, from users. Yeah, and I see it as a future. You know, with the AI being available, it changed my technological life, because right now I can multiply myself. That's going to be much smarter, and it's doesn't have any stumbles, doesn't speak with accents. It can be automatically translated to multiple languages. A lot of people with technology like AI, with what we showcase in the world, what's possible there, makes sense. My mission also as an AI evangelist to showcase what is possible. Makes sense. If I can do it, anyone can do it, and it's become a new normal. But most importantly for me, have an international background. I'm always cheering for fair game for everybody in the globe to make the world a better place, to be honest with you. Because today, anyone from anywhere in the world with the digital avatars be able to reach out and represent intelligence in a much easier way. Something like that.
Yeah. So, we talk a lot about this on the show, Alex, and I still get people with kind of pushback with AI. But I use it all the time in my business, not necessarily to do automation. I know you do it. You have a mandate for your company to do it as well. And obviously it's working, but a lot of people still say it's BS or it doesn't produce what you think it's producing. But this is one example of how it actually is working. So I don't know why there's still this resistance.
Well, resistance because uncertainty, right? So life is very simple. First of all, we want certainty, then we want variety on the top. But right?
Yeah,
It's not I
that's
said.
true.
That's Tony Robbins, right? So what I'm trying to say, of course, there are some things that going to be improved. And as we evolved, we due to the fact that technology evolving itself as an AI technology, what is possible, right? B, our hopes for this technology to deliver. Sometimes we're hoping for more that it actually can do. And C, most importantly, it's a human adaptability to live with this technology. Some people adapt faster than the others. But it's not AI gonna change the life of some people. It's the ability of employing and living with AI as your intellectual vehicle to what you deliver to the world. Make sense? A lot of things will be shifted. Jobs will be reshifted, and it's obvious, right? We as coders, if automation was our main skill, it's a coding. That's where was our life achievement, basically, as an automator evangelist, right? Today, our goals and our add value to the market shifting from being a hands-down robotic kind of personas to deliver code to being more architectural personas to design architecture of the bots to deliver code for us, but for us to design it and vet it out to understand if it's accurate or not. This is how it is this year. Next year, we're going to trust more AI, and it's our missions will be shifting. But what I can tell with the AI, what we deliver to the market, a lot of automation will be done better and faster. Culture of automation will be better delivered across. Makes sense? And in terms of test automation, but most importantly, in terms of business operation automation, like RPA processes, because that part been hugely underdeveloped. And due to the lack of education, lack of the culture on the business operation groups of the automation, they not funded for that initially. They don't have a skill set to deploy automation. And ironically, I've been talking about it a couple of years ago, and it's still there. Within the organizations, groups do not collaborate within the same company between the BizOps and DevOps. So with ZAPTEST.AI, we bring in the centralized automation culture in the companies, where they're having technology that can be easily and faster deployed on many tasks, or any task, I should say, reason, you can centralize automation efforts.
So, Paul, I'm just curious to know, you mentioned earlier that, you were kind of skeptical of English-based automation and that, keywords almost, it sounds like. But now we're at AI. I know you have a pretty rigorous kind of steps that you take to put a tool to its paces to see if it's actually doing what it's doing. So maybe a little background, like, do you trust AI? Is it full of BS? And do you actually see the value? And how do you evaluate tools that claim to be AI based?
Well, when I evaluate a tool, we'll start with that answer first, and we'll go to AI second. I've got a very simple thing, and I've talked to a couple of different people. And when I say it's a candy mapper challenge, they're like, oh, it's going to be a challenge. I don't try to make it very difficult. It is a fairly simple thing. I have a website called Candy Mapper. It has a modal dialog box that pops up. You have to clear it either way by clicking a button or clicking the X on the top. Second thing is to go put your name into the first name and then click submit. Verify that an error message comes up, says you have to put in an email. You put in a fake email like me@me.com, and then you click submit again, and then you verify the last thing is that it says, I'll get back to you in 24 to 48 years. There's all sorts of bugs inside that site, but that is a very simple, easy process. And I have it set up for GoDaddy. I have it also set up for Wix. And that's the first thing I ask is like, let's see how long it takes to get through that. And ZapTest took us 17 minutes to get through it, to get to solve everything. So that's not too shabby. And especially since there wasn't a whole lot of XPath or CSS that was being created or going on over there. To get back to your other question about AI, I find that people have two opinions of it. Either, like you said, it's a bunch of BS. It is just doing cold readings, like kind of like psychics may do. And by the way, I trained about cold readings just to know if someone's trying to do it to me. I don't use it as a professional way for an income. But it's not quite that. But the other people are saying, oh, it does 100% of everything perfectly. And it doesn't do that anywhere. It doesn't do that either. It's around 80%. It gets it accurate. But here's the thing that people forget is that you're usually using this tool, but you haven't provided it any prompt engineering. You haven't told it anything about your application and what are the requirements. It's just taking a wild guess at what it thinks you might want to go to. And often it'll just leave out a validation. It'll just say, I navigated over here. I added this thing to your cart, but there's no actual validation you have to do. You have to do that last 20%. But the great thing is if 80% of it is already done for me, I'm happy. I'll just do that other 20%. That makes my life so much better. So definitely give as much information as you can about your application. And if you've got requirements written by a BA, feed that all into the AI. You'll get a much better representation and generate much better scripts than just starting off like day one, like you don't know anything.
Absolutely, Paul. I agree with you. So the thing is, we showed you ZAPTEST.AI demo, right? So what tools you referring to when you try to automate with the AI?
You're talking about other tools?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
Because I don't believe you had a hands-on with ZAPTEST. We just showed you the demo driven by our engineers.
Oh, no, I was pretty hands-on with it. No, I walked your engineer through it, which is fine with me. It's fine with me. Other tools that I've done the exact same thing with, I mean.
With ZAPTEST, we have two ways of using the AI.
Okay.
You can use it in the full automatic way when you use a ZAPTEST.AI, connecting to the ALM, taking all the documentation, the use cases or test cases. And here it's all analyzers designed for you, suggest to you all the automation framework with the procedural or reusable modules, with the risk assessment, with the parameters and yada, yada, right? Yes. So here you just needed two people, SME to do quality assurance of the how good ZAPTEST comprehended this documentation. And once you send it to automation, then copilots kick in and converts all the textual documentation, what the Plant Studio provided to you, into the executable source code. Here you need another player, automation engineer that's going to go and just to sanity check all the scripts, all the object recognition and what's not, right? That's if you're going to do it full scale. However, it's never a perfect case, right? So in many cases, when the customer onboards ZAPTEST, they have a hybrid approach. So, for example, they already have a team with automators. They just want to expedite their scripting productivity. In this case, they don't use Plant Studio. They use just a copilot.
With ZAPTEST Copilot, generating scripts, solving challenges, and accessing expert insights is as simple as chatting. Describe a task, like outlining the steps to test user login on our demo site, and watch Copilot generate a complete script for you, including browser launch steps and data table parameterization. Experience the future of test automation with ZAPTEST Copilot. Visit ZAPTEST.AI today, be happy, and let's zap.
So in Copilot, here where you provide the textual description in the plain English of you can just simply copy-paste manual steps or whatever the textual documentation you have into the Copilot and generates for your code, suggests the best practices if you're not sure how to create particular routine, similar to any other Copilot, right? Like a Microsoft Copilot or the Cursor or any other scripting tools. So, yeah, but this way or another, I agree with you. Human involvement is still needed. And Adam, what is it?
Much less, though. That's the important thing.
Much less, but this is the good thing because you can apply the same man hours that you already budgeted, that you already structured your team to more automation. It's never going to be enough automating. There's always something to automate in the company. If you're running out of ideas on the DevOps side, switch to the BizOps. If you reach out to your operational team, I bet in any organization, they will find the automation for you to do. I'm not suggesting that people are going to lose jobs. No. I'm suggesting that managers that run these teams going to deploy much more automation for organization with the tools that help them to drive it faster, right?
And I also say the managers are looking like, oh, let's get rid of all our manual testers. I don't look at it that way. I think it's a bad
manual
idea.
testers, it's a holy grail of QA industry.
Go ahead.
I can tell you that I designed the tools to equip manual testers to be more productive.
Yeah. And it's a balance, because there are things that automation does really well. It does the same thing accurately over and over again. Manual testers, sometimes they make mistakes. Manual testers also get very bored about doing the exact same thing over and over again. And when you let them loose and say, okay, let's do some exploratory testing, there's something that is going to find out if the system will catch on fire and delete itself. There's no requirement. It should not do that. But if you can make it do that, that's great. Automation isn't really good at the exploratory side. So you don't want to get rid of your manual testers. You want to just make more use of their extra time that they have now to do all the extra things that to keep your product looking good before it gets out to production.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with you. You know, when we design the processes for automation, we plug in the a ratio 3 to 5 manual testers supported by 1 automation engineer, because you need to have a subject matter expert. Manual testers, in fact, if you take aside robotics of doing the testing manually, if we take it out of equation, in the process, if we just call it manual tester, in fact, we call it subject matter experts, because those are the people that understand the application requirements. They act as a technology-oriented business analyst, if you will, right? So they dictate what needs to be automated, where the automator is just the mechanics that just plug it in and assemble it for execution.
Alex, I also want to bring up one thing that I really love, which brought me back, which is the data-driven process approach to the architecture that's in there. It looks very familiar to me. I love being able to see a data table in front that I can go and edit and change and work with, just like it's Excel. And that is great, because most other tools, we're working with those files outside of the tool. Then maybe you're importing it, maybe you can edit. But with yours, it's got that kind of a look and feel of an older tool that I played around with, which you actually worked on. So I can actually see the stuff that you did on some other tools in the past, and some of my favorite things about working with those older tools.
Thank you, Paul. So it's 2 factors here. One is the fact that I'm a very visual guy. I like all the components. You look at the ZAPTEST, we were first in the market that has a GUI map in a visual format. It's like a breakdown of all objects on the screen. That's what you see. And you can drag and drop it like a canvas, like a paint canvas, right? But also, and the same with the data, you're going to see all your test data. You have a snapshot during the execution, similar to what we had in Quick Test Pro, right? Similar concept.
Exactly.
But also, it's a nostalgia, right? So we came from that culture that's always there.
Yeah. You made some great stuff for me along the way, because I played with that for 12 years and loved it. In fact, there's one feature in there that I'm hoping, I didn't have a chance to go look for it, and I hope you either have it or will add it. But the data generation that was in UFT that nobody ever talks about is really cool, and I miss it terribly. And I hope that ZAPTEST either has it or we'll get it in there.
Oh, we have it. Shortly. Yeah, we have a test data wizards and managers that sorts data in the kind of performance testing set of mind data. You have randomized data, you have sequential data, you have a unique data, and you can manage and structure it any way you'd like. Because you can do with ZAPTEST on enterprise level any type of automation, and you can do database testing as well with that, like the build the queries and what's not, right?
So, Paul, when you put ZAPTEST through your challenge, is there anything they could have done better? I know we've got 17 minutes, but I don't know what the norm is. Is there anything you're like, oh, if they only did this tweak? You have Alex there right now, so I'm just curious to know.
I will tell you, I have done this with a different tool out there, and I did see a little bit with ZAPTEST, but it's not as major with some other tool I just looked at this week, which is scrolling elements into view before interacting with them. It was not a major issue. It was just something I marked off and said it might be able to do better. But that seems to be across the board, is trying to get an element that's off screen and validating. Is it there? And bring it up and interacting with it. I was pretty impressed with the way that was going on there. Everything else I saw in there was really great because he's taking screenshots before and after each step that's going through. There's also a second challenge we did. There's a secondary level for KDMag. There's a couple of them, but we only mentioned the second one, which is on my page. There's a drop-down list that says select the county. And that list is actually off the screen when you start. And then the thing I asked them to do is select City of London. Now, City of London, there's all these different counties of England there. City of London is way at the bottom. Worcestershire is the bottom one. So even that, when it opens up, is still off the screen. Had no problem with it. It just picked it up, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. All right, you got through that. There's other levels we could go to, but that's the challenges I look for to say, yeah, these guys actually know what they're doing and have it set up correctly.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, keep in mind, we aim to work for 6 months at no cost, so we better be good in anything we do.
Sure.
Otherwise, we won't get paid.
Awesome. So at this time, Paul, in the interview, I like to play a little game. It's called Stump Alex Zap. I like to put Alex on the spot because it's kind of fun. I know you have a lot of experience. Just curious to know, in this game, we like to just say, like, how would you automate that? So get maybe your craziest scenario that you could think of that would be almost impossible to automate. And let's see how Alex could automate it. And you can even throw in team dynamics, any type of parameters like that you think would make it even harder for something to be automated. I don't know if you have any examples, but that's the game. So you're on the clock. What do you think?
So there's two things I'm thinking of, is trying to find an element on a shadow DOM, or if it's sitting inside of an iframe, and how to work with that. The second thing I would say that's really challenging is using AI to validate an image. Like, say, the image contains the ZAP test logo on the screen. And how much detail do you get back when you do that validation?
All right. So the very first one is very easy. Our object recognition, it's not a DOM-based, it's computer vision-based. As long as it's visible on the screen, we absolutely don't care what technology is underneath. And that's the beauty of it, because it offers you enormous portability. You can automate entire framework on the one technology. And if the technology changes, but business logic remains the same, even if the object is going to be shifted around, you don't need to rescript anything. We have a smart identification mechanism that's going to find the object anywhere it is and suggest to you, are you agree with this location, or you want to set it as a fail step? Make sense? If you need to adjust it, it's done very quick, automatically. So either I've any framework that you have, like any ActiveX controls or anything that's underneath, going to be treated the same. We don't even negotiate that. As a matter of fact, we have a live proof of concept phase in our evaluation process. It's like 3 steps. You do demo with us, then we suggest to you to do 2 hours live proof of concept. Without any preparation, we're just going to send you a link to ZAPTEST. You're going to install it on your machine. We're going to ask you for remote control over the Zoom or whatever we share, right? And our engineer going to automate it off your machine in front of you without any preparation. You're going to just tell us what to do, what the steps are, right? So if you can do it manually, we can automate it. No question asked. Make sense? So that's pretty much easy as is. And the second one you mentioned about AI, if AI is smart enough to understand image differences, right? So we use predominantly AI for object definition. So AI parses all the visual concept of the UI and builds for you GUI map and the object repository. Make sense? Based on this object repository, you design your validation criteria. You can do it on the page level, or you can do it on the object level, any way you would like to do it. But you have a full manual control over what to define for validation, because it may be anything, right? We do have AI injected in object recognition that is going to be more precise, and if you're going to instruct it to look for particular element on the image or on the page, it's going to adhere to that. Absolutely. Right? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's fantastic.
All All right, so Paul, before we go, just curious to know any parting words of wisdom, last zaps that you can give the audience here.
Sure. I do want to make sure people understand automation with AI is great, but it does have a little bit more overhead. So I look at AI much like adding salt to a soup. I find it's best if you add it just enough at the right spot. Because if you pour the entire container of salt in the soup, nobody likes what it is. And they're like, why is this taking so long to execute? Oh, it's taking 4 or 5 seconds to find some sort of element. So find some good balance in between that.
Great stuff. And Alex?
I want to invite everybody to try AZA, Alex Zap Avatar, to ask anything Zap test, to spend time with it, and get a full understanding of ZAPTEST as a technology, and most importantly, what it can do for you. No matter what mission you have in the company, either you manual tester, you director of QA, or you CIO. You have answer for any case, explaining the strategy, meaning, and the downgrade functionality of ZAPTEST. And as always, be happy and let's Zap.